Hi there, welcome back. Okay, went shopping yesterday. Halfords, got some microfiber cloths. Just to finish this paintwork once and for all. Microfiber buffing and application pads. Polish, finishing glaze, and wax. Now, I believe, in my personal opinion, what I like to do with fresh paintwork that's never been polished, I like to finish off the buffing process. Because what we did with the G10 compound was we got it right up to this lovely glassy finish. It looks like a glassy finish, but it isn't. When you look really, really close in sunlight, you can see all the little swirl marks in it because the G10 is a rough compound. Even though it's very, very fine, it's still a cutting compound nonetheless, and you'll never change that. So you use a polish. Most polishes have a very, very super fine cutting compound in them. So this is finer than the G10, and this will give me hopefully a slightly better finish. You can't see these scratches, it just takes the form of a bloom over the surface, and I want to remove that. And certain little areas also, I can see that I just need a little bit more work on it by hand. So that's going to be done first. Once I've polished it all to what I think is the best shine I can get it, I'm going to stick a glaze over the top of that. I'll talk about it more at the time. The glaze is a bit like a clear coat, a temporary clear coat. You squirt it, it's a watery liquid. You wipe it all over the surface, leave it for half an hour to dry off, and that fills up any tiny little microscopic scratches that are left afterwards. It just fills them in, it floats out over the surface and gives an absolutely flat, smooth glaze. I've done it before, I used it on classic cars, it very, very much works, it's good stuff. And finally after that, to protect everything, I'm just going to put basic wax over it. Good old Simon Eyes wax. This is the old version. I've had this stuff for years, I love it. It protects like you wouldn't believe. It's a nightmare to get off. When you spread it on and let it dry, you then buff it off. Oh my goodness, it takes a lot of work, but it's so worth it on brand new paint because you're starting off on the right foot. That's literally just wax. There's no cutting compound, no color restorer, no nothing, just wax. And that just keeps the elements out, which I think is the right thing to do when you took all that trouble to get it as good as that. And finally, as I said, 20 microfiber cloths, 50p each, they'll do the job because you can wash them afterwards. It's best to use microfibers if you can, because I'm sure you know that. Right, so I'm going to get stuck in. The first job is to polish it all with this. Now I'm going to do all the body work by hand. There's no need to film that. You've seen enough of this being rubbed with compounds and creams. Once that's done, I've done all this part of it. I'm going to stop when I get to the tank. We're going to light the camera back up and I'll show you the three-stage process on the tank that I think works. It certainly works for me. It worked on my classic cars in the past, the old American cars I had with paintwork that was 60, 70 years old. That definitely needs a lot of care. It's old paint, and this process used to bring it back to look absolutely like brand new again. So I'll show you that on this. Let's get everything else done quickly first, and when we're back to just the tank, I'll show you actually how it works. Welcome back. Alright, fast forward 2 hours now. I've done the tail unit, the side panels, and the mudguard, and they're done. Their three-stage process is all finished, and they look absolutely stunning. What I want to do now is do the tank, which you can see a lot clearer. And I want to show you the difference between the G10 compounded finish, which is this. That's just the G10 finishing compound. I thought it was mirror finish when I did it. It still feels lovely. But looking at the rest of it, that is far from perfect. And I want to show you literally by polishing half the tank, the good old-fashioned test, like you see everybody else doing in these videos. I want to polish just this half of the tank with this resin polish and show you the difference that it makes between the compound and the actual polish. Let's just do it first, and once you've seen the difference, I'll show you why this is essential. Using a microfiber sponge-filled pad and autoglym resin polish. You can use what polish works for you. This isn't an advert for polish. This is just trying to show you the principle of using a good body polish to do the job. Right. I'm going to come right down the middle of the tank. A little bit more. Right, I'm going to work this in for a minute. In live time, no cutting, no fast forward. There. And just took a couple of minutes. Microfiber cloth. Buff that off. And look at that. Straight away. Oh my god. You see that, Pam? Can you see the difference from there? Let's get the camera. Let's just borrow that a minute. Now I don't know if you can see it. I'm hoping you can. But there's, yeah, you can. Yep, there it is. The line's down there. Trouble is, this has gone like a mirror. All you can see is the ceiling and my mug. But I'm hoping you can see here. There's a difference. This has got like a greyish haze to it, and this is black, black, black. It just goes deep and rich. The colours come out. The black just goes deeper and deeper and rich and invisible. And there's just You can even feel it different. That feels more, well, that's just nothing. That your hand just glides over that, but here you can feel a bit more resistance to it. Squeaky. Can't do it the same on that side. So there is the difference. You probably, yeah, you can see it just about between the two. It's like a lot of these things. There you go, pen. Like a lot of these things, you can't always, in real life you can see it far better. To me, that's a glaringly obvious difference. So what I'm going to do now is give this whole tank a good old polishing over, loads of elbow grease, get stuck into it, and then buff it all off and see how much nicer it comes up than it was before. Elbow grease pen. Forgot to buy some.
Get going.
Let's get cracking. Right, microfiber. Puff it back up. Let's have a look how good it can be. Oh my god! Wow! Check that out. Right, that's the first one. Now, it's difficult to show you with the camera where there are little scratches. I can still see them. The more you look at it, the more you work on it, the more it eliminates the little tiny thin microscopic scratches and then shows up the bigger ones. You see, come around this side, but just grab us a camera, see if I can show you this. This is a perfect opportunity. You probably can't see it, but here there are little scratches along there, little tiny ones. I don't know even if GoPro at 60 frames a second can see that. But nevertheless, it's got to be got rid of. So there we are. Time for another coat. Obviously, as you go along, you just keep working at it until they're all gone. And where you stop is your personal level or your personal interpretation of perfect. For me, it's got to be flawless, absolutely flawless, to do justice to the artwork, the time, the effort, and the 60 odd hours this is going to take by the time it's done. Right, here, let's work those little scratches out. Last little haze. Okay, last buff off by hand. Now, I could, if I wanted to, have used a lambswool mop on the buffer with this to get it up, but I just enjoy so much the process of doing it by hand. It's hard work, you're sweating at it, but I love it. It's kind of, I don't know, working on it by hand, doing it yourself, it's just so much nicer. Also, using a buffer, this polish, although it's polished, it's still got a cutting compound in it to obviously do what it says on the tin. So you can leave swirl marks from the buffer if you're not very careful, even a lambswool mop. But personally, microfiber cloths, elbow grease by hand, that is stunning. Absolutely superb. Now, there are little tiny, I can just see little tiny marks that no matter how much I rub, they're still there. And they're the kind of little circles you get when the light hits it. You see on the sun, on the bonnet of your car, the light hits, you get these little circles, and that's just from the polish itself. So there's the next stage now to take care of that. And again, I learnt this a long time ago with this particular product from my old grandfather. He used to wax his old burgundy coloured Mark I Cortina with this, and it always looks stunning. This stuff, just want to show you it, so if you want to do this, you can do it as well. It's liquid, like a sort of milky water. It's not a polish, it's a sealant. You just use a microfiber. Do you want to come in close around this side and I'll show you what I mean. What you do with this, if you see it coming out, you've got like a squirty top, so be careful because it's very liquid. Just squirt some in, and all you're doing with this is wiping it over. It's a sealant. There are, look, extra gloss protection, high gloss protective paintwork sealant. It makes like a layer over it, a glossy layer over the surface. And because it's a liquid, like this thick clear liquid, it fills in all those little micro swirl marks, almost like another clear coat. That's what you're doing. You're putting a liquid clear coat over this, a bit like a varnish if you want, that then dries. Now this dries to a haze almost straight away, but the instructions on the pack tell you to leave it half an hour to dry. You don't have to rub it in. I'm only spreading it gently, no pressure on the microcloth. Just spread it. That's what you're doing, just literally spreading over lots and lots of it. I'm going to put 2 coats of it on. So that's the first one, all over. Don't rub it in, don't buff it off, just leave it there wet. Now, all I have to do at this point is wait. That takes half an hour before it dries right off, and then it buffs away. Then I'm going to put another one on. You can read all about that if you wish. I'm not selling these products. These are products that my grandfather used to use 40 years ago when I was watching him polish his cars. Autoglim stuff's been around forever. I know there's other brands out there, but this is what I use, so you can do that if you like. And the same goes for the Simon Eyes. I'll come to that in a minute. So half an hour, let's let that dry, and I'll show you what it looks like when you buff it off. All right, dries off nice and dry and powdery. Doesn't take any effort at all. Just wipe it off. Wipe off the dry residue. The glaze itself will have filled all those little scratches, and already it's just flawless. I can't see anything now. The glaze is superb. And I've been doing this, I had classic cars for many years, and I've been doing this to paintwork that's 60 years old, and it brings it up like this. Absolutely stunning. There we are. Now I'm going to put one more coat of the glaze over this, just because you can, just because there might be little things you can't quite see, and 2 coats is always better than 1 when it comes to polish and so on. There we go. So let's glaze that again. Nice wet coat all over, and let it float out. Need lots of it, so it floats out like a varnish, and as it's a sealant at the same time, it helps to keep all the weather out. There we go. Second one takes a little bit more to buff off, but it's absolutely stunning. It just keeps improving. Every one of these layers or processes that you put it through just keeps getting better. Right, there we are. Now that's sanded back, buffed back G3, buffed back G10, and then polished with a resin polish right back, and then sealed and glazed. Now finally, the last fence, just got to wax it. Let's show you what we use. Okay, I want to show you this if I can, just in case you choose to use it. This is Simon Eyes original wax, been around since, what does it say, 1910. There we are, it's been around a long time. This is my old tin, and it was only when I looked in the cupboard I still had some, and I haven't probably used this for about 3 or 4 years. I used to do, we had a dark car, I used to do it, and there it is, that's the old stuff. That's after a couple of years, it's still soft. It's just wax, literally, nothing more. There's no extra stuff in it. This is a new tin. It says now on the tin that it comes with natural carnauba. If you know your stuff, carnauba is the palm tree wax. It's super duper and all that. But look, the whole principle of this is there's nothing in that but wax. There's no cutting compounds, there's no polymers, there's no nothing. It's just wax, because everything's already been done. The sealants and all the chemicals in this that seal the paint are all done. The glaze is all done. All I need to do is put a layer of wax over it to protect it, and this is simplicity itself. This is the stuff that your granddad used to use, I kid you not. It's rock hard, that even rattles around in the tin. It's like shoe polish, but it's clear. You just rub your microfiber on it and smooth it on. You don't have to work it in or anything necessarily, but if you've got a car that's a bit, or a paint job that's a bit scratched, I'll come around this side. If you've got a paint job that's a bit scratched up, this will fill those little scratches in and reduce the appearance of them. I've got to say that I think a few of you already know I'm a bit of a Luddite. I do love old-fashioned stuff. If you go to any classic car show or classic bike show, you'll see this stuff being sold. on stalls and market stalls all the time, because it's the sort of thing that classic car owners love. And I looked at a tin of the Autoglym. This is one, it's not about a brand here of different polishes. There was a little tub of polish from Autoglym, £47, basically just wax, and that just shook me to my boots. Couldn't believe that. This was £8 and it will last me years. It's rock hard. You just rub a little bit on your cloth and spread it on. Good value, lasts forever. So right, there you go. There's a layer all over. Like I said, you don't need to work it in too much, just spread it over. Not too thick, and let that dry off to a haze. Alright, let's give that about 10-15 minutes to dry off, and then we'll buff it. Right, new fresh cloth. You get these, I always rip the label off because they scratch. Go figure. Right, bit of elbow grease on this. It does take a while sometimes, and I would say to anyone going to use this proper hard wax, for goodness sake, don't do it in the sun. You will never ever get it off. Do it in a cool environment. It's, what do we got? It's 62 degrees in here, so it's not hot, and it's in shade. If you did this on a sunny day, it goes rock hard and dry, and the only way to get it off then is with soapy water, warm soapy water, to wash it off, and you have to start again, because it does go rock hard. Jesus, look at that. Oh my God. Right, now that's buffed. I just want to do one more coat of the wax over the top of that, just one more, to give it that final richness. And I think we're done. It's a good job too, because so am I. There we go, spread another coat on. And the final buff. 60 hours work. There we are, index. Right, now the tag's not bolted down yet, it's still loose at the back because I've got to take it back off to change the HT leads, I've got to change the air filter and the foot pegs. Now they're just minor jobs, there'll be one video finishing everything else, popping some fuel in it and then getting it fired up. I've also got to put a vacuum hose on the back of the dump valve, that's got to be done still. I've got to source that because it wasn't there before, I don't know why, but that's also got to be done. And then that's it really. It's then off to the dyno for a quick health check. It's not going to be tuned on the dyno or anything, I'm just going to hope the guys will let me take the camera in. Just going to roll it up to see what power it's actually making. I've seen a dyno print out of 183 horsepower 17 years ago. Let's see what 17 years of time, but not much mileage, actually does to a bike, whether it needs a little tweak here or there. But either way, it's more a health check to make sure it's running rich enough so it doesn't do any damage to the internals of the engine, because turbos, if they force too much pressure and they run lean, they can melt everything. So that's really a health check. I want that done before I go launching it in anger. So that's it really, once it's on the road. One more video to get everything connected back up, like I said, HT leads and whatnot. Once that's done, it's back on the road and I can play about on it. Job done. And then come to loads and loads of you saying I will be able to deal with the fighter build again. I've been off the fighter build now all the time I've been doing this, so sorry to those of you who've been following it. A lot of you have said, you know, we've been following that build since the beginning, where is it, what we're doing. Honestly, this was just a little distraction. I wanted to make something alternate. I wanted to get the turbo in, do a few little jobs on it, bits and pieces, and then alternate between the fighter build and this. But because the paintwork is such a full-on thing, one process after another, that's where I've ended up like this, where this has been the last half a dozen videos all in one go. But there we are. I hope now you can see this paintwork does Mackie Bass justice for all these efforts and all the work he did. It does all the time and effort of myself as well justice. It's 60 hours in the making, this paintwork, and I am so thoroughly proud of it. So again, Mackie Bass, thank you brother, this is all down to you my friend. I could not have had it look this good without your advice and guidance, along with my experience and time. If you want to do this yourself, I hope today's video has just given you a little insight into the 3-stage process. Once you finish compounding it, there are 3 more stages: polish and seal and wax. Now you can buy products that do the whole lot in one go. You do what works for you. This is not a tutorial, and this is not me telling you how to do it. You do it how it works for you, but that's how I do it, and there are the results right in front of you. You can judge for yourself, and I like that, don't you, Pen?
Beautiful.
There we are. So tune into the next video. In the next one, I'm just going to finally finish this, hopefully get it running, get it pulled outside, and it'll be ready to take the dyno. Then the one after that will probably be at the dyno itself, if I can persuade the guys to let them take the cameras in, which we hope so, don't we?
I reckon they will.
Okay, there we go. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, ride safe, and thank you for all of your amazing support with the Turbo project so far. See you next time.